know what time it is, okay? You know what we about to talk about. You know it's list time, right? I promise you by the end of this week, you gonna feel way better. But right now, we about to get all the BS that came out this year out front and center on display for the whole world to see. We gonna talk about how inconsiderate these artists were to, despite knowing how much we've been through over the last 3 years almost, decided to say, no, I need to put these people through even more than they've already been through with my trash music. We're about to look at what I feel are some of the worst expressions of humanity that came out in the year 2022. And the first one is NBA YoungBoy with 3800 Degrees. The funny thing about being a YoungBoy fan is that the chances of you getting a good album are just as high as you getting a bad one. And you can chalk that up to this quantity over quality thing that he's had going on for the last few years. Now, I can't deny that it probably pays his bills, and his fan base is so hardcore and strong that whatever he puts out, good or bad, is going to do numbers. But the music that was within this album made me feel like I was in a torture chamber at 3800 Degrees. I felt like I was getting cooked by horrible flows, terrible bars. Y'all know I've compared NBA YoungBoy's rapping to a man falling down the stairs and not being able to catch himself on the way down. And a lot of that type of rapping shows up here. Flows terrible, not matching the beat whatsoever, just going on these rants and tangents during the song. I'm like, bro, who are you talking to? What do you need to get off your chest? I basically look at this mixtape as the musical equivalent of someone talking through a movie that you're really trying to see. Coming at the cover art alone, you'd look at this and be like, this has all the makings of a classic. The worse the album cover, the better the music is. That's how it's always been. But as opposed to being regularly trash on this album, he's aggressively trash. Instead of this falling down the stairs flow, he's throwing himself down. He's harming himself, and in the process, I'm being harmed by being forced to listen to this. MGK with mainstream sellout. I don't know exactly what Machine Gun Kelly will be selling out to. I'm really tired of these artists coming over into other genres of music when their career in hip-hop doesn't go where they want it to. So they hide their trash under the guise of another genre to trick people into believing that other people who listen to that style won't call them out for being garbage too. And what I've come to understand about artists like MGK is when you trash, you just trash. Nowhere you go is gonna not be trash. You can run, you can hide, but you can never beat the allegations. Taking these elements of pop and punk and trying to do this emo thing on the album, like, bro, you 30. Like, I don't believe you. It's over. When you a kid, making this type of music is cute. When you grown, it's concerning, because you got the life experience and the wisdom by this point to know I should never allow myself to be put out in this context. Mix on these records are ass. The quality of these records are ass. The singing is absolute garbage. It's like someone's taking a cheese grater to my ears on every record. There is something to be said about the title of this album though. It's an attempt at selling out and doing something completely different at an attempt at being relevant still. But I'm wondering what the next step for MGK is when the reception to his pop punk fusion is ultimately the same as the reception to his rap records. Is the next record going to become underground sellout where you make a bunch of folk music? Like, I don't know what the next move is. Tom MacDonald with The Brave. I thought I would never talk about this man again because I thought it was all a troll in the beginning. I'll be honest. I thought this anti-rap was essentially his attempt at trying to gain attention and trying to show that the rappers that were popular were trash, which most people knew but could enjoy as novelties or in small doses. I thought he was like the self-aware Joyner Lucas, where he knew that the things that he was saying were cringe, but didn't mind being made fun of. It was only after listening to this album that I figured out he's dead ass. This isn't a joke. It's complaining about people complaining, the album. But given the ideas on this album, he might have a really good chance at starting a very popular conservative podcast. This is what happens when you sleep with your siblings your whole life. We have been getting the same album from DJ Khaled since 2017. Same group of artists being featured, same songs attempted over and over and over again, but with a new updated photo of his kids and an attempt at trying to make people believe that he has any talent as an actual producer. I swear to God, a computer program can put out a DJ Khaled album. I honestly think DJ Khaled might have died a few years ago and we just don't know. If I had to ask anyone how disappointed they were in this DJ Khaled record, I would ask God. Having the all-knowing and the all-seeing beside you still didn't give you the vision and foresight to know how people would respond to what should have just been a religious rejection. I don't think God was with you. I think it was Satan deceiving you into believing you were doing something great for society when really you were torturing us. And the worst part about it is, I know DJ Khaled thinks it's good. With the features on this album, bro, either DJ Khaled has like dirt on every person in the industry and they're doing these features for free, or he's got the budget of the US military and can just throw cash around and waste it. Change the album to God Didn't. Kid Rock with Bad Reputation. I never thought I would talk about Kid Rock like unironically in a video because he's just someone who I've always hated. And I have the right to hate him because he's from Detroit. As a Detroit native myself, knowing that Kid Rock is one of the representatives of the city makes me sad. But this album is basically the definition of not aging gracefully. It's what happens when a midlife crisis becomes music. It's the political commentary from your 57-year-old coworker at your restaurant. It's your conspiracy theorist barber who's just good enough to call himself a barber, but never good enough to have the most customers during the day. This is bar fight music. It's all of those things, but worse because it's country. Game dropped Drillmatic, and I know Nas is pissed that his album name is attached to this in any way. Game is just the personification of corny. Very rarely past 2018 do you see me take Eminem's side. But the 10 to 15, 30, however long it was, it felt like an eternity rant toward Eminem was probably the most embarrassing thing I've seen from a rap artist in the last decade, while trying to downplay the success of an artist who probably don't even know that you're making the diss record about him is embarrassing. It makes you look like a nutcase. It's fan fiction, and the game is the stand. Outside of that track alone, the content on this record just sounds like entertaining someone you know, knowing that the story that they're telling you is cat. But you listening because that's my nigga. I'ma hold him down even when I know he full of shit. If this is the game, bro, turn that shit off. And then it's so obvious with the rollout for this record. This was 31 tracks. But the rollout for this record being so obvious is what really made it pathetic. Knowing that none of the names that the game drops on his album take him seriously enough as a threat in rap to even respond or entertain his nonsense is what makes it pathetic. He's trying to go viral by talking about women that he wants to fuck on Killers, despite being 40 plus. This album comes from the perspective of a man who's watching the strongest character in an anime series and sitting down, unironically, delusionally, going over the many similarities between himself and the main character. Drake. Didn't expect him to be here because I honestly forgot that this album came out this year. And I would honestly like to forget that it came out this year, but I can't. Honestly, this attempt from Drake at trying to do house music is boring, it's lazy, it's uninspired, much like Drake's other musical endeavors. And I feel comfortable being harsh with Drake in this capacity because I know he has the resources and the time to do better. If he wanted to, he could make a good house record. We've seen him do it in the past. Having him patronize people who don't like this record by basically saying they have to catch up in order to see the vision when it's clearly just a lack of effort and innovation on his part is so corny. The best moment on this album is easily the record with 21 Savage on it. To anyone not dick riding every release that Drake has, honestly, Nevermind is a blur at best. I'll just speak for myself. These instrumentals have next to no life in most of them. Drake's singing on this record is kind of lazy. Lyrics are even worse, which I really wouldn't care about if the music on the album was good, but it's not. But I do say that this is a good teaching moment for anyone who's trying to make house music, because Drake did teach me something. He taught me how not to make house music. And that's valuable. YG, I got issues. He's not lying. Every issue that I've got with YG, his rapping, is manifested on I Got Issues. I feel like this is the album that you would get if you ask G-Eazy what he thinks YG sounds like. Super generic West Coast influence beats on this album. Horrible rapping. I think Baby Mama is easily one of the worst tracks I've heard this year. Terrible one-liners from YG. Super uninspired rapping. Dude is on autopilot for the entire album. If YG tries to sing one more time, I'm going to snitch. I don't have any information on him or his team, but I'm going to the police. Jackman Harletheus with Come Home, the Kids Miss You. Holy shit. I've never not gotten it so much in my life. I remember when I said it earlier this year, but I'll keep saying it. This is Billy Madison, the album. This album sounds like it's from the perspective of a 25-year-old high school student. I wish that I could listen to this record and pull out some charisma from Jack Harlow, pull out some one-liners from Jack Harlow, pull out some wit from Jack Harlow, but none of that is on the album. Instead, we're met with crazy, I wanna fuck XYZ. It's literally frat boy music. It's locker room music. He's a worse white Big Shawn from 2015. So bland and generic and boring. It's like a lemon cake that you get from Kroger in the box with no icing. Jack Harlow makes music for niggas who harass their barista. If I'm one of the kids that are being described in the title of Come Home, the Kids Miss You, I don't need my father. He can stay gone. I'm better off with a deadbeat. Please don't come back. And I genuinely feel like, why listen to this when the alternative is so much better? I can easily listen to current Big Shawn, or I can easily listen to Drake. Last but certainly not least is DaBaby. I don't even know what the name of that trash he dropped was. I just know that if this mask that he's donning is supposed to be like the representation of the quality of music that's on the record too, oh, he passed the test with flying colors. The response album to the controversy that he's been in the last year and a half or so after making unnecessary bigoted comments on a live show. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The music on this album is equivalent to when a stripper makes her first song. This isn't the album to get after all of that said controversy and after people have been calling your music garbage for a while now. This just doesn't help. There's a track on the album called No Condom. Do we need to talk about it? Kodak Black is a shining example of the music being enough. He's an example that if the music is decent enough, people don't care about anything else you got going on. DaBaby could have overwritten all of the controversy if he kept making good music, but he's not talented enough to do so. If his head wasn't so far up his own ass and he could hear the criticism coming from the general public, he'd realize majority of it doesn't even comprise of the people that were upset about the comments you made on stage, and it's mainly about the music that you make. The mixing on this album is terrible. DaBaby's rapping is the most boring and painful it's ever been, with the personality of a toddler having a tantrum. No songs have any bounce, rhythm, catchiness. Hooks are trash, bland, generic, goofy beats with terrible bars, and shit singing. In any avenue that you thought an artist could be trash on this record, DaBaby was trash. He's a 0 overall. For everything. No attributes, 0 badges. I don't even hope he does better because I don't want to know what comes after this. Y'all hop in the comment box and let me know what the worst albums that you've heard in the year 2022 are. I want to know exactly the trauma that you've had this year so I can avoid it too if I ever get curious and be like 10 years from now, hey, you remember 2022? What's this album looking like right here? I want you to tell me what records to avoid. These are mine. Lists have officially started. I'm hitting you up tomorrow with the worst songs, and then we'll be getting on a more positive note. Y'all have a beautiful holiday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.